Okay, so let's begin. First, we'll start with your question, Owen, on that. Before we begin anything else, it is good to know about Paticca Samutpada. There is Paticca Samutpada Vibhanga. If you go through that, it talks about various types of Paticca Samutpada. Okay, and it's a huge one. Actually, if you go through the Vibhanga, it talks about when what will come, and when this comes, what happens. So there is the definition. Before we go into the definition, we should understand the theorem on which this whole thing is placed. Okay, the theorem here is that it starts like this. So the 12 link is an example. It's not something which is there, but we are used to the example, so it is very easy to understand. But we have to get through the theorem. Theorem is iti imasmim sati idam hoti imassa upada idam upajjati. What it means is that, let's say there are two things. I being in Bangalore, take an example, okay, or I being in Vancouver, or I being in Geneva, or wherever, whatever place, whatever thing I'm doing. Iti imasmim sati. Sati means real, if it can be turned out to real. Imassa upada. There is an arising of that. Idam upajjati. And that also will start. So depending upon something, something else is going to start. So if the condition is right, if I were to land up in Vancouver, I'm taking a flight from Bangalore to Vancouver. So let's say there's a direct flight from Bangalore to Vancouver by Air Canada. Okay, and I have booked a ticket. Understanding here is that I have the visa, the flight is going to take off, and I'm going to land in Vancouver. But it is dependent on many conditions associated with it. So iti imasmim sati idam hoti. When all of these conditions are met, my landing in Vancouver is almost guaranteed. Imassa upada idam upajjati. So now these two things will co-arise. So it's called as dependent origination because they both co-arise. Iti imasmim asati idam na hoti imassa nirodha idam nirujjati. Let's say my visa is valid, but because of COVID situation and because of the political situation in Canada right now, I cannot land in Canada. I cannot land in Vancouver. So the flight comes till Mexico, and then it doesn't fly now to Vancouver because I need to have 14-day quarantine in Mexico. So even though the Air Canada has taken off, it's not going to land in the place I wanted to land because the condition is changed. So iti imasmim asati, when that is not real. Idam na hoti, when that doesn't happen. Imassa nirodha, that means it ceases, that whole situation ceases. Idam nirujjati, it doesn't get into that condition again. That means that day, that moment, I was supposed to in Vancouver, it no longer is true. So even though I've got the flight, even though I've got the visa, even though I've got a ticket, even though I'm in the flight, even I'm flying, but since the condition couldn't match, it was terminated. So what Buddha says is that one, there should be a condition. Two, the conditions should match everything else, and then it produces the result, which the person falsely believed that he's done it or she has done it, and then he gives that 12 link dependent origination. So the thing what we need to understand is, if this happens, if this is there, that happens. If this is not there, that doesn't happen. That's all we need to know. Got it? Any questions on this? This is the formula. It's based on this formula. All the 12 link is based on this formula. So if avidya is there and meets that condition, sankhara is going to be there. And avidya and sankhara are going to be conditioned. So they arise together and they dissolve together. Okay, now when I say nirodha, it's ceasing away, passing away, or not being there. So the nibbana happens when the avidya and sankhara both are not there. If avidya is not there, sankhara cannot be there. Got the point? So my flying to Vancouver, I'm being in the flight, has no guarantee that I'm going to make it to Vancouver, because it's dependent on the conditions. So sankharas are these actions I'm going to take, the willful action I'm going to take. And when we create a willful action, the vijnana is going to be there. So now we need to understand what is this vijnana. So if you know what is vijnana, then you can see whether vijnana pachaya sankhara and sankhara pachaya vijnana, now that goes in circles. Each one goes in circles. So avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya avidya. Then sankhara pachaya vijnana, vijnana pachaya sankhara. Vijnana pachaya namarupa, namarupa pachaya vijnana. So it goes in each individual form a circle based upon this formula. Iti imasmim sati idam hoti imassa upada idam upajjati. Iti imasmim asati idam na hoti imassa nirodha idam nirujjati. If this is true, then that happens. If this is untrue, then that doesn't happen. Okay. Now we need to know the terms on each one of them. Avidya. Vidya is what vidya and what is avidya. Vidya is knowing the Four Noble Truths. Avidya is not knowing the Four Noble Truths. As simple as that. Okay, now what is so great about that noble truth? What is extraordinary? The extraordinary quality here is, now my chakku, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, which is actually chitta, has become vijnana. Now this six, which is mano, so there is a word called mano. This six of them, where it is going, there is no knowledge of it. Eye is going in whatever it wants, ear is going whatever it wants, nose is going to whatever it wants, the tongue is going to whatever it wants, the body is touching whatever it wants, and the mind is creating impressions of whatever it wants. But it is not getting whatever it wants. Sometimes it gets it. That is, the sight are exactly what I predicted, and sometimes the sight are not as per my prediction, which is dukkha. So jati pi dukkha means the birth with these six senses as a condition is the dukkha. Because you cannot exactly make out where these senses have to be at this point in time. So there's a possibility that it can take whatever it wants. So avidya here is the not knowing the first noble truth. That's a first avidya. And then the samudaya, that is how they arise. Tanha samudayo, rupa samudayo. Tanha nirodho, rupa nirodho. That means when the craving arises, the rupa arises. When the craving ceases, the rupa also ceases. That means I can exactly see what the rupa is all about. So that is called as yatha bhuta jnana. You see exactly things as they are, not as they are presented. So presently, this physical structure, which is consisting of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and wherever there is Patavi, there's going to be color. I have a skin color, you too have a skin color. If you take out each one of these, flesh each has its own color. Not that I brought in the color, nor you brought in the color. We all have color. All of us sitting here have color. So basically, not knowing that Patavi has Varna, color. Earth element has color. Then the water element, Apo, has Rasa. Rasa means something to do with liquid, but it has some taste associated with it. So, not knowing that. So, Apo has Rasa. So, Patavi has color, Varna. Apo has Rasa. Vayu has Gandha. So whenever there is an air coming, whether it's from our body as farting or as burping, as whatever it is, there is going to be Gandha, smell. You cannot do anything about it. It's going to be there. So wherever we have the Vayu, there is going to be Gandha. Finally, wherever there is Tejo, warmth, at present this body is warm, all our bodies are warm, and everything is warm. As long as that warmth is maintained, Ojas is going to be there. So if you look at the plant grows from the mud. If you see the insects, if you see the bacteria, if you see everything, it has Ojas, meaning that warmth creates an environment for beings to develop. And that is how we are also growing. So this not knowing and associating this as me is what the dependent origination is all about. So now you see, iti imasmim sati idam hoti imassa uppada idam upajjati. Now I call this as vilas. As long as the condition matches that this body exists, vilas is going to exist. The moment the life goes away from this body, iti imasmim asati idam na hoti. When this does not is not there, then that will not happen. What will not happen? Having vilas is not going to happen. No matter what one does, they might cry, they might do whatever it is, it's not going to be there. Same thing with a person who is married me, same thing with a person who is born as my son, same rule. And same rule with all of us. There's absolutely nothing we can do. So now it's condition based. The condition here is this should be there for that to happen. If this is not there, that is not going to happen. If the life is moving out of this body, that name, a person, what is being called, is not going to be there. So this, if you correctly understand, and you start with the linking. So, asava pachaya avidya. First link is, that is not here, but there's a question asked that what creates avidya? And Buddha says that asava pachaya avidya. So the starting point is asava. The defilements causes avidya. If there were no defilements, then there is no avidya. So again, two conditions. As long as asavas exist, so long avidya exists. As long as asavas don't exist, avidya doesn't exist. Now we apply to the second link. Now the roundabout link, meaning asava pachaya avidya, avidya pachaya asava. So now you bring it here. I have avidya. Asava is going to be there. Avidya feeds onto asava, asava feeds onto avidya. So now you have re. Re means to circle. Re means cut the circle. So Ariya Magga means to cut the circle. Re is to keep on circling. So Ariyo Attangiko Maggo means the eightfold path which teaches you to cut the dependent origination. Then you're done. So this one circle, asava pachaya avidya, avidya pachaya asava. Second, avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya avidya. Now let's first go by, this is called as loma, and the reverse side is called patiloma. You come from the other side and see how this equation works. So now avidya pachaya sankhara. There are three sankharas and three kinds of sankharas. Three sankharas are kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, mano sankhara, and three kinds of sankharas are the punyabhi sankhara, apunyabhi sankhara, anenjabhi sankhara. All these are sankhara. Abhi means with intention, sankhara means as it happens. Okay, always sankharas are intentional. You intend to do something. Okay, so there are 6 of them in the intention. Chakku sanchetana, sota sanchetana, ghana sanchetana, jivha sanchetana, kaya sanchetana, mano sanchetana. And mano sanchetana is what is called as mano sankhara. And the remaining 5 are related to senses. Now the sankhara you are going to do based upon what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, what you smell. And you gets created in that. So I will call it as mind, that is eso mama, this is mine. Eso mama asmi, this seems to be mine. Eso me atta, this is I am. Okay, so this gets created. So avidya pachaya sankhara, when we take this root, it means that I get created using the sankhara of 3 types and 3 kinds. Now when I go on the reverse side of it, sankhara pachaya avidya, it means that there is an intention which creates furthermore avidya. What is that? My sankhara is on my wife. Actually, no wife exists, and no son, no daughter, nobody exists like that. It's just a designation or a title given. But the mind says that, look, you are doing to your wife. So now I feel I am doing something to my wife. And when I do something to my wife or to something to somebody, that creates abhisankhara, actually sankhara. And that creates furthermore avidya. So, avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya avidya. Then, now your question is, sankhara pachaya vinyana, vinyana pachaya sankhara, which is correct? Now you need to know there are 9 vinyanas, 9 stages for getting into vinyana. It is not immediately you can see vinyana. So the 9 states or the stages, if we were to see, is first is chitta, just the light, like this light, pure and bright, but it is shaky. What is shaky? Now take a bucket, fill it with water. Now you just hit to that and starts to shake. If there were a sun up, the water also has a reflection of the sun, but now the sun is not seen, that so many suns are seen in its place. And that shakiness of chitta creates mano. So chitta, mano, manasan, hadayan, pandaram, mano manayatanam, manindriyam, vinyana, and vinyana khanda. So this 9. Okay, so let's go slowly on one by one. Pure light. Then there is an identification called mano. What is this? Mano. Manasan means it not only identifies, it has a knowing, it knows itself. It's manasam. Hadayam is taking it as near the heart, meaning it's making like mine, is hadayam. Then pandaram, meaning possessing it. Then mano manayatanam. Manoyatana means a home for the mano. That means it creates itself that something is existing there. So when I say wife, it has crossed the chitta to mano to manasan to hadayam to pandaram to mana manoyatanam. Mana indriyam, now it becomes a sense by itself, an independent sense other than the eye, ear, nose, tongue. It by itself can play its role. So just like in a dream, it can keep on playing all the frames. Okay, so this is what mana indriyam is. Then comes vinyana, V plus jnana. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means no knowledge. Now it doesn't have knowledge that it is pure bright light called chitta. It has got distorted into this. So when there is a sankhara, it becomes vijnana. It takes the shape of the object to be something and starts associating with it. So sankhara pachaya vijnana. Now in this stage what happens? Buddha explains on the steps. He says that can a Gandhabba by itself be born? No, it requires a condition. So the mother should be there, the father should be there, and a Gandhabba should be there. So that is how the birth happens. So sankhara pachaya vijnana, he takes that also. The being formed is also true, and all the rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana which is coming together to form something is also true. So it takes that. And if we go the other way around, vijnana pachaya nama rupa, vijnana pachaya sankhara, he talks about how the energy, or what we can say, how the identification of what sankhara, what one is doing is already registered. So he gives in the Mahavidyala Sutta, Sariputta and that another venerable, they ask this question, how does it know? He knows, he says that vijnana already knows. So then the question is, what does it know? It knows sukha, it knows dukkha, it also knows adukha, asukha. What it means is that it knows what to do and what it can get out of it in the sankhara. Okay, and like that we can go to nama rupa, then chalaytana, then phassa, then vedana, then san, then like that upadana, then bhava, then jati, then jara marana. So we can go by both anuloma and patiloma. So I'm stopping it here till the vijnana stage for reflection. So you have to start from asava pachaya, avidya pachaya, asava, then we come to avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya avidya, then we come to sankhara pachaya vijnana, vijnana pachaya sankhara. If you keep on playing with that, it gets cut. Then you can see both. You can see the loma, that is from avidya onwards till the jara marana soka parideva dukkha domanasa upayasa sambhavanti emaveva kevalassa dukkha khandassa samudaya hoti. That means you will see the entire dukkha And in each one of this link, you can see the four noble truth. That also is possible to be seen. From the first link onwards, you can see the four noble truth arising there. So you will see dukkha satya, then dukkha samudaya satya, dukkha nirodha satya, and dukkha nirodha gamini patipada satya. So the question still comes that it should have been other way around. Yes, actually it should have been other way around. But if you really cross-check from the position of asava, the vijnana is already there with sankhara. So iti imasmim sati idam hoti imassa upada idam upajjati. So as long as sankhara remains, there is always a vijnana which can take that object and make it happen, like a magician. So I'm doing sankharas intentionally, and that keeps on producing that experiences. So when this is not there, then the vijnana is also not there. Clear? Any questions, Owen?
I understand more about how sankharas create vijnana now.
Okay. So this is the formula. If you forget the formula and only look at the dependent 12-link association, you will not really see how and why. So you need to not miss these two. If this is there, that happens. If this is not there, that will never happen. In anything we do. So, example, take your own or my own body, your own body, or everybody's body. The practice here should be, this body is a material body consisting of 4 elements and 4 upadaya rupa. But am I not taking it to be Vilas? Yes. Am I not taking it to be Owen? Yes. Am I not taking it to be Richard or Preeti or Malti or Suyog or Swati or whatever that can be? Am I not taking it? Yes, I am taking it. If I am taking it, it means that this is true and hence that is true. If this goes away, that has no its own existence. Now if the life were to move away from this, Vilas is no longer there. So this has to be seen. This is what Dhamma Chakku is all about. It has no independent entity as long as the condition matches. As long as I'm eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, as long as life exists, life faculty exists, that is Jivita Indriya is there, and it is the warmth exists, then Vilas exists. So where is the Sankhara now? The Sankhara is where? The Sankhara is here or there? Sankhara is there, not here. Here are the conditions, the result is there. So cause, result. Because this is the cause, that is the result. Because the body is there, Vilas is the result. If body is not there, where is Vilas? Gone. One shot gone. There's nothing anybody can do now. So avidya is Vilas exist. No. Vidya is this body exists right now, which is on food. Nirodha is you don't take Vilas. You take only this body. And everybody is existing due to body only. So then you are in Nirodha. So he goes on the second law, which says that iti imasmim asati idam na hoti imassa nirodha idam nirujjati. Nirujja means not to arise again. It doesn't arise again. So if I see the reality, no sankharas will be there and no avidya will be there. So I am cutting out the condition. And hence Nibbana is unconditioned. It doesn't go by this cycle. This cycle of Vilas, if is there, Jara, Marana, Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domanasa, Upayasa are going to be there. Why? Because Vilas is born, he is going to die. He is going to age. If he's going to age, he's going to have vyadi, which is diseases. If he's going to have diseases, he's going to suffer in the hospital and ultimately die. So when I see the dependent origination, I should only see these two. Iti imasmim sati idam hoti imasa upada idam upajati. Iti imasmim asati idam na hoti imasa nirodha idam nirujati. If this is there, that happens. If this is not there, that is not going to happen. Put your name, put the body, and see what happens. You'll exactly come to know. You can play around. The whole day you can be enjoying it, and you'll be laughing to a heart's content. And same thing with Vancouver, same thing with Bangalore, same thing with New York, same thing with each country, each place. As long as this exists, that's going to be there. If this is removed, that is not going to be there. So tomorrow, Ferguson Drive might be called as Jackson Drive, or Lloyd Drive, or some drive, because this is no longer that condition. So they can change the board. And when the board is changed or the label is changed, people start to say, oh, okay, there was earlier Ferguson Drive, now it is called Lloyd Drive. Doesn't really matter what it was called, but everybody's bothered about this side. So they shaky on this side. But when this exists, that exists. If this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist. Anyway, moving forward on the Anāpanasatikatha. I have been moving the dates of meeting on purpose to see how you are getting it. Any challenges you are facing on this?
For me, I've had a interesting, it's like experience. It's like every single day it seems to be sort of a different hindrance that arises. But recently I've noticed a lot of like sort of remorse and like stressfulness, and doing a bit of metta before seemed to kind of like remove that sort of remorse and like sort of ill will intentions.
Okay. But you are able to keep the attention on the touch.
It's getting better, yeah.
It's getting better. Okay. Good. So there are two things to watch and the two things to ease out. Okay. I'll tell you two things to watch. For those people, like, I'm finding it extremely tough to watch the touching of the breath. I can just let it go and then make the breath go up and down. Okay. And see anicca nature in that. What is anicca nature is that it arises and passes away. Just think like you had 100,000 breaths and each one is reducing and reducing and reducing. And that's what is kayatena anicca. That means it keeps on diminishing or reducing. Bhayatena dukkha, that means you're in fear now. There's 100,000 or 1 million breaths you had. Now slowly it is reducing. So that much of your life is reduced with every breath. And you have no idea where you're going to land next after all the breaths are gone. And anatta can be seen immediately because it's asara. Whatever you did in the breath, it doesn't really matter. Whatever has been done till now doesn't matter. So it is no you. Nothing called as a personality or a person. So if you are finding it difficult to watch the breath touching the nostrils, don't worry. You can do it another way around. Yes. And the second thing to watch. If here it is not working, watch here near the lips area. It will be lighter, but you need to put your focus on this side of your lips and you will feel the breath. Now what happens when it becomes very subtle? When it happens very subtle, you need to watch the floating movement. If you miss the floating movement, you are going to sleep. So we have to calm the we have to balance it out, just like cycle, you need to balance it out. So when it becomes very low, like the dhiga becomes very low and then the body is calmed down, you need to see the floating sensation, and that is piti. Once you get it, you'll really enjoy it because you're not sleeping. There's no longer the sleep going to be there. So you will get 3 stages. One stage is long breaths. Second stage is short breath. Third stage is you will see the entire body just made out of breath. There's nothing called as body. It's just the breath. Whole body is breathing and there's a vibration happening on the body. And that vibration stops. When it stops, there's a floating sensation. You feel this body is moved above the ground, like levitation. You shouldn't get carried away by that, otherwise it goes into sleep. Now what you need to do is just watch the floating. When you feel floating, when you experience floating, you find piti, joy. And that makes it extremely calming and gets you sukha, is the pleasure or the happiness, what you've been looking for. And then it takes you pasiddhi, meaning it makes everything so peaceful. The sound doesn't seem to be bothering you. The sight doesn't seem to be bothering you. Nothing seems to be bothering you. You can really come till there. Whether you follow Burmese method, you follow Sri Lankan method, Thai method, this method, that method, it doesn't really matter. It brings you till here. So, if I'm facing a challenge in terms of what Sariputta is saying of the tree being cut, no worries, drop it off. Just go with the breath and see the long as long, short as short. Just do that. And then you'll calm. The body becomes stable. See whether you're brooding. You're just going front and back. That means there is body is drooling and brooding and all that is happening. So you need to put in energy on the breath. And then it becomes extremely light, and then you feel floating. Body becomes too light, as though no body exists. Don't get shocked, because then if you come back and again you have to establish. Just watch the floating. When you immediately watch this floating, you feel sukha. And when you feel sukha, you literally get into pasiddhi. Nothing bothers you. So this you can do with eyes open, with eyes closed also. While walking also you can do, while sitting you can do, while standing you can do. In all postures you can do this. So what do you need to do? When I'm standing, let's forget about sitting. Standing, I need to just watch the breath. Let's say now I'm sitting. So I'm not closing my eyes and sitting. I'm open my eyes. Just watch the breath. I don't have to close my eyes, because if I close my eyes again, it might go into a sleepy state. No need, because if I am doing that, what happens here is that it causes too much of samadhi, which makes it virya not being there. So I'm not balancing it out. So what I need to do is I need to put the effort. What I can do is I can choose. So now this is my screen here. So I'm just watching it. Then after some time, this whole sight, what I'm watching, goes away. Okay, and then nothing exists. It's just the breath which exists. Another thing what we might not get correctly is passam bhayam kaya sankharan asasissameti sikkati. Passam bhayam kaya sankharan pasasissameti sikkati. What it really means is, There are two kayas. One kaya is the body made out of 4 elements and 4 upadaya rupa, and the second kaya is the mind. So take like this, small finger is phassa, the next finger is vedana, next finger is sanya, this is chetana, this is manasikara, the thumb. It has two functions. Yoniso manasikara means knowing what should be done. Ayoniso manasikara means not knowing what should be done. So what happens is this gets connected with phassa, contact, manasikara with contact. What it does is it becomes friendly with these 3 people. They are the culprits, but it doesn't know they are culprits. So this is chetana, intention. So there is an intention to enjoy these 2 guys. So this is sanya and vedana. So this is phassa. So this contact, vedana, sanya, chetana, manasikara. So once these guys get connected like this manasikara has no way of getting out. It follows whatever it is known. If it comes out like this, then these guys are seen. So phassa, chetana, sanya are the 6. Oh, should be 6, sorry. So this whole thing of mind is the kaya. So passam bhayam kaya sankharam asasisameti sikkati means he is watching this body made out of 4 elements. So he'll first sit down after he has come to the stage of watching the whole body breathing, and then he sees, or he or she sees, that this body is having color. I did not bring color. Each flesh has its own color. So there is solidity. So he checks the solidity. So he gets into the 32 parts contemplation, where he says the Pathavi Dhatu and the Apo Dhatu. These 2 he is able to see in this body. So he can see the Asubha Sanya in this, because he has no control over what is there in this body. And it stinks basically with all the filth. It has only color, it has only the shape, it has the watery element, and it has the fiery element, it has the airy element. That's all which is made out of. So he's able to see that and becomes a yoniso manasikara. So when the yoniso manasikara happens, all the other ones will sleep. So basically the body consisting of the physical and mental, both will just relax completely. So there is no body shaking. There is no mind shaking. Still. The moment the stillness is accomplished, piti, that floating sensation starts. And when the floating sensation starts, piti is established. When the piti is established, then you have sukha. When the sukha is established, pasiddhi happens. When the pasiddhi gets established, aniccanupassana will start. So then you are coming into the vipassana. Till here is samatha, and then we come into vipassana. Okay, so I can open up my eyes and I sit and I keep on watching the breath, however it is, whether long, short, or whatever, in whatever, not the Sariputta way. If that is not working, then I can do through this. So let's say I have gone to Pa, Ok, or Burmese method, or Goenka method, or Sayadaw method, or whatever method I have learned that still works. What I need to do is just watch the breath going up, going down, going up, going down, going up, and going down, and then where it is touching, and once I am able to see the touching into it, slowly settles down. So I can keep on watching, and I can do that while walking. I can do that while lifting my hand. I can do that while getting up like this. So I can keep on checking where what is happening. I can really do that. So I can bring in Sampajanya, I can bring in Pajanana in a way that I can do what is indicated in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. I can easily bring it in and do it. This is a alternative method to get the same result, not so deep as what Sariputta has said. Meaning, if we are having hindrances of this touching of the breath at the nostril area, and if not staying in the touch and seeing the arising and passing away, we can drop that out. No issues. And most of the people here have attended to Ubakin or a Sayadaw kind of meditation technique. So it is good to follow that only, because if you are already been introduced to that, this might become a difficult thing. So I was wondering if that is coming in your way, you can still follow it, but be aware of the touch. That still works. So I'm trying to figure out on both the technique, both works to a good level. Sariputtas will go into complete, meaning it will show you the anicca, dukkha, anatta, asubha and all that. Here you need to try something to get into that. But I think over time that also should be possible. So both seems to be nice. The Sayadaw method as well as the Sariputta method. Any questions on that? Or how has been your experience on for the last 4 days? When you already replied, I'm talking about the others. Anybody would like to share?
I think I want to concentrate more on like there are random thoughts are coming very frequently. So
Okay.
I think like by the days go on, like I will think I can settle my mind. But right now there are many more random thoughts are coming.
Okay. So there is a way out. If the random thoughts are coming, there are 5 indriyas. So you have the Saddha Indriya, then the Virya Indriya, then you have the Sati Indriya, then you have Samadhi Indriya, Panya Indriya. 5 Indriyas. Okay. The random thought comes when there is udacha, restlessness. So this generally happens when I am doing it pretty fast, or I am already anxious that things are not working, or something is making that distraction, or the it's also called as vikhepa, which is an hindrance. So the mind starts to flutter, and when it flutters, if I close my eyes, only random thought comes, like that, just like a dream. It just keeps on coming one after the other, one after the other. What you need to do is take few deep breaths. And drink some water, basically. And immediately don't close your eyes. Instead, watch the breath. Generally, don't go by whichever method. It is Ubakin's method, or Goenka method, or Lady Sayadaw method, or Pa tradition method, this method, that method, whatever method it is. Just stop for time being and just watch the normal breath. You will start to see a daydreaming thing like happening, like the thoughts are going, but you try to focus on the breath. After some time in the sense that after 15-20 minutes, it will stop. When it stops, you close your eyes, you will see nothing. So then you can start watching the breath. In the same way as you're doing, since you're done the Vipassana of Goenka, you can, in the Anāpanasati, the way you did it, try doing the same approach. You will start to gain on that. Yeah, so you have anything? Yeah.
Thank you, Brother.
Okay. So just like the 10-day retreat, if you were to do it using Pa tradition or Goenka tradition or a Sayadaw tradition or a Ubakin tradition, whichever tradition that is going to be, including Sri Lankan or Thai, doesn't matter. But if you can do like that by setting the precepts, not talking to anyone, and just watching the breath. And in the 10-day retreat, the first 3 days where you watch the breath for 8-9 hours. On Saturday and Sunday, if you are free, you can try doing it. You will get it. And then you will start to see that it literally touches everywhere. So you then get the hang of what Sariputta is saying, that it will be, you will start to feel like the tree is on the even ground, and then there is cutting happening on the of that tree. So you are, if I sit, I exactly can feel the way that saw is coming and going and coming and going. I'm not bothered about how depth it has gone and how the teeth are coming and going. I can only feel the touch portion of it. Now that is the nimitta. The nimitta means symbol. And the Dhamma here is the in-breath and out-breath. So if I don't want to have a symbol, using the Sayadaw method, what I can do is I can just watch the in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, touching. And again, touching is there. So he says that near this area. So if I go by Ubakin or Sayadaw method, then in this area, the touching has to be seen. So then you can watch the touching. But here, you're not only looking at a touching, you're looking at how the breath is going in and coming out and making it as long, short as short. So that method you can do till you get the hang of this one. So don't try to add both of them, get confused. If you're finding this tough, go back to the Sayadaw method till it stabilizes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so it's almost 9:30. Any other question? Otherwise, we can close early today and then again meet up with new set if you want. Otherwise, we can practice Anapanasati without this also. Or we can take some other subject if this is becoming difficult.
We will continue Anāpanasatikatha only.
Okay, the same way as what Sariputta is saying, or the Goenka method?
The same way as we are doing at present.
Okay, no problem. Malti had a problem, so she couldn't get it, and then her body, she's having arthritis or osteoporosis, so she's having body aches. So I have told her, just relax, don't do anything. You fall.
No, she is confused of when you said no, breath touching to the tip of the nose.
Correct.
And sometime upper lips, and
Correct.
sometime rim of the nostrils. So where to see, she gets confused. She talked to me also.
Okay.
So that is her confusion. Where to see?
No, wherever it touches.
Or upper lip or rim of the nostrils or where?
Wherever it touches. Wherever you can find the touch, you can observe that.
Or simply we can observe coming and in
Going.
and out also. No?
Yes, so now you have a point here. See, now for even in the Goenka method, Goenka also says that you find the touch. So let's say that is not happening, then you can watch arising and passing away of the breath. So the in-breath,
Works.
that works. That works.
That works.
That works. Now you have to add another thing. There is no nimitta there. So you will go into after it becomes very subtle, the breath becomes very subtle, you cannot really make out. So then you have to add a nimitta. The nimitta here is that you have to bring in anicca anupassana. Meaning you have to see arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing all the time. If you miss that, you'll go to sleep.
Yes.
And that is one thing. See, Preeti ji, that day we spoke, right? See, the problem with you is 20 minutes you go on a sleep mode and then you are fresh. That sleep mode is going because there is no nimitta. Without nimitta, the mind shuts down. So you need to bring in the nimitta. If you are having the nimitta, you will not sleep. So you have to bring in some nimitta. Some Dhamma object should be there. Otherwise, it will not allow you to watch anything. It will immediately make you to sleep.
Okay.
Once you are fresh, like you were saying that after 20 minutes of your sleep, you are so fresh. Once you are fresh, everything works. But that 20 minutes, you don't know how it went, why it went, because you're in sleep.
Yes. More than sleep.
Yeah, it is actually more than sleep. So it is a good one. So what you need to do is, if you don't want like that, you need to bring a Dhamma. The Dhamma is a breath. So you need to bring nimitta. So you have to bring anicca anupassana as the nimitta. So you have to watch the anicca in the breath. So in breath goes, out breath comes. And then again in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. So every in breath is birth. Every out breath is death. Every in breath is out. In breath is birth. Out breath is death. Like that you have to make it. So then you get the Udaya Vyaya Jnana. So you get Udaya, arising, Vyaya, passing. Udaya, arising, Vyaya, passing. So you'll...
Out is always more, what to say,
longer.
Subtle means slow or cannot be felt.
Yes.
Whereas in breath is, we can find the touch.
Yes. So now what you need to do is, you need to somehow put your virya, energy, on the out breath. See, another thing, you might be watching in breath here. The usual way is that they try to watch the out breath in the next nostril. It doesn't happen that way. Whichever nostril the in is going, that same nostril out also will happen. Okay. So you have to keep on watching. Now I am watching. It touches here. Out breath. In breath touches here. Out breath touches here. After some time it touches somewhere. Let it touch wherever. So I am more...
Breath touches here, upper lips, above the upper lip.
Fine.
And its breath touches the nostrils.
That's fine. Wherever it touches. Wherever you are able to make that contact, phassa, that is required. If that is not working, then you can just watch arising, passing of the breath. And you can stay with that while eating, while drinking, while bathing, while doing anything. Then you are established in the Anāpanasati. Richard, do you have anything? Richard, I think you are on mute. Or we can't hear you. That's okay. No worries. It doesn't show as mute, but still we can't hear you. Leave it, not a problem. So we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay, if you don't have any further questions, let's end. Again, practice the breath wherever it touches in the nostrils. If the nostrils you are not able to feel it, then watch the whole breath And look at the hindrance. Out of the 5 hindrance, Kama Chanda will come, the breath gets cut, the mind automatically gets pulled into something about eating or something about hearing, something about seeing, something about touching, something about smelling. That is Kama Chanda. Then look at Vyapada, so you suddenly get irritated or angry or something like that, and the breath again becomes totally disturbed. Then Thinamida is when the body becomes very sluggish, the mind becomes sluggish, and you feel like sleeping. That shows the virya is not there. So this happens. And then Udacha happens when there is too much of virya, too much of energy, and the samadhi doesn't happen. So then you have Udacha. Kukucha happens when I start feeling remorse about something I've done in the past, and those impressions come and cut the breath. So I am not able to watch the breath. Visikicha happens when I have no faith. I again repeat, no faith or no belief in this teaching or dispensation, because it's not working for me. I don't believe that is the right one or this one or that one. So then the mind goes in different stream of thoughts about this is correct or that is correct, and so many questions. So what I need to do is, when I'm watching the breath like this, with eyes open, eyes closed, or whatever it is, watching the breath, Kamachanda arises. I make a note that Kamachanda is arising, and since Kamachanda is arising, I need to then go and remove the Kamachanda. So I need to work out on the Asubha Sanya. Okay, that means this filthy body. That's sufficient. Immediately the breath is seen. Then Vyapada Metta. Then Thinamida, if I'm having, then put the energy. So I have to make Aloka Sanya or rubbing the ears. And Mahamoggallana versus Buddha. Buddha gives so many examples to Moggallana how to come out of the drowsiness. So you can go through that sutta. There are many things what he says there, including putting water to the face and all that. So this Thinamida. Then Udacha, Kukucha. Udacha comes relax. You don't have to put so much of effort to watch the breath. Just leave it. It's too much of effort. Don't do that. Kukucha, remorse feeling, park it. Say that whatever happened, happened. That's okay. So now I had told lie some time ago. I had done this some time ago. I had had an illicit affair with one woman some time ago. Whatever it is, let it be. Fine. Don't take that, because then the mind goes around that and the breath is not felt. Then Visikicha. Dhamma Savana you have to do. So then what you have to do is you have to look at Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, Asubha, and thing will get established. So the 5 hindrances will get resolved. And you can watch the breath wherever it touches. Don't worry about what Sariputta is saying, that it should be touching like a saw and a tree. You're not able to get it, no problem. Wherever it touches, if touch is not working, then go through in and out. That also is okay. Okay, so practice, and we'll again meet up tomorrow. We'll take further more of the Dhamma. Okay, Namo Buddhaya. May you practice well on the Anāpanasatikatha. Namo Buddhaya. Bye.